Okay, my name is Natalia Paredes, and today I'm talking about child organ human trafficking. So, this speech is to inform you about what is being going on in the southern borders and throughout worldwide. Um, what comes to mind when I told you about or the words the new American dream? Um, People will say, well, money, houses, Instagram houses, or Pinterest or anything. I will tell you that it's more deeper than that. The new American dream is now living forever. And the longer you can stay alive, the longer, you be happy. Um, Children trafficking can be whether it's a sexual exploitation, labor, or even child abuse, or with families that are cannot conceive. One of the ones that people do not really know about is organ trafficking. There has been um, a higher ranking now that children are being taken from their families um, and taken from their families and being used for transplant. Either they tell the parents in poor countries that they'll give them X amount of money, and then when the organ is being taken, then they don't give them either very little or no money at all. In some other cases, the children being are taken out from the streets, abducted, and then being their organs harvested, and either sometimes they leave them alive or sometimes they don't. And some of the misconceptions about human trafficking is only in foreign lands, but I will tell you now that it's also here in the United States. United States is more of the country that is willing to buy organs rather than sell them, but it is also being transported. Let's see. Say, so if we do have help that would help those children that have been abducted, and some of them there are for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Administration of Children and Families, the Office of Refugee Resettlement, and all protection specialist team. So the ones that usually help the children when they are being found. If they're alive, they'll be found and will be helped. Um, the other one, majority of the countries that are also being sex trafficking, and I link to it a lot to organ trafficking because the children are mainly drawn into recruiting them for work or for modeling agencies, and then they'll be taking either for sex trafficking or directly into organ. First they go through sex or labor exploitation, and once they're no longer used for them, they start harvesting their organs. So the age upon rescue in some cases they're as little as 5 years old up to the age of 17 years old. um, some in our country we have 38.6% out of under of 100, and other country 20.9%, and unknown country 40.5%. So we do have a significant amount that are being abducted here from the United States. So they go with false promise, kidnapping, a boyfriend, online family member, or originally smuggled. That's where they start. That's how they start attracting them to export. So majority of them, they'll be either prostitution will be the first one, pornography will be the second to that one, stripping, escort services, internet posting, and then after that they start doing labor and they start doing organ harvesting. The other one. says there's another case here in Nigeria. Yes, in Nigeria, and it says estimates that approximately 2.4 million people are victims of human trafficking at any given time. 1/3 of them are children. So that's a very large number. There are children are being taken from their families for either sexual or organ trafficking. And there's also baby factories, which is is very heartbreaking for me because they take minors first for sex trafficking, and those minors they get pregnated, and then from those pregnated people they keep the babies. Either they sell them to couples that cannot conceive, or they sell them to private parties, where they either sexually abuse the children or they harvest them. So majority, it's that it's not only United States, but also majority come from Latin America. They are The organ trade involves device practices like organ trafficking, says trafficking in persons for removal of organs, organ sales, the commercial exchange of an organ harvesting, a forcile removal of organ, or an organ transplant tourism, to travel across the state borders to purchase an organ. Yes, majority of the people who can afford an organ in that way, it will be an American, because they are asking for American dollars, and they are the ones who have high income and will pretty much give whatever it takes to save their loved one for an organ. So I'll ask you, what is the difference between donating an organ and organ harvesting? I'll tell you that is the volunteering of helping one another without feeling or being having the feeling that you need to. Is voluntarily doing it. So I would tell you that profits between $600 million and $1.2 billion per year are for just pure organ trafficking. So that's a lot of money. In some cases, in India perhaps, there is a case where this young lady said the victim was told her kidney was sold to the son of a wealthy foreigner for $40,000. However, the victim only received $700. Yes, she was promised to receive $3,500 and was threatened when she attempted to collect the remaining balance. So these scammers would just promise, yes, we'll sell you this much, we'll give you this much, to these very poor people, and then will not do it as such. So the average, that's about $40,000 a kidney. Can you imagine that? Who in South America, who in Mexico, who will be able to pay those money? I will tell you that is hardly almost not anybody. The money comes from here, from the United States, and that is because we the people, we want to live forever. So there is a law, and I would want to have a law that, I can't remember where it is, but it just pretty much talks about having stricter forms of adopting agencies, and adopting agencies to make sure that those children are not being victims of organ harvesting. So that is my presentation. Do you have any questions?
Is the United States doing anything?
They do say that they are doing something, but majority of the time they take it as a case by case. There are considering, for instance, like a missing child, and they're taking it that by that case. But at the end, sometimes they are being harvested and they found dead bodies. But then again, it's a case by case system. They don't really have universal or national law against, you know, it.
And would you say that this is something that has recently gotten worse, or has it always been the same? Like, has it gotten the same attention, or was it less worse beforehand, or I don't know. What would you say?
In 1990, they have started here in the United States be more aware of the situation, but I believe that has always been one of them. And since the American dream is always to live forever, to always have your loved ones with you, and since the long list of organ transplants of donors is very very long, some of them who have they're very wealthy, they cannot wait, so they go into the foreign lands, or they, you know, abduct so that they can harvest a kidney, an organ. So yes, it is increasing, but then at the same time, we're being more aware of it since 1980.
Are there specific ways that we can try to help prevent?
Yes, one of the preventions that I will say is one, talk to your to family and friends about it. The more of aware the society is, the more the children can be protected. To talk to your children about not talking to strangers. As you see, one of the majority of the reasons they will go in is they will focus on teenagers for pornography, sex trafficking. One of them will be the predators could be a boyfriend, internet, and even outside abductions. So just be careful. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your children, talk to your community that this is going on and it is being aware. Also talk to your loved ones and well friends and tell them that it's okay if they pass away. That you don't have to harvest and end somebody else's life. Because majority of them they think that if someone died and they give in the in donation the organ, which is not. They pretty much are being harvested from other countries. So by preventing it would be just to spread the word, keep your children safe, and yes, hope the best and be involved with your community. So is that all the questions that you have?
So, would you say that it is better for parents to set standards and rules in their home than for letting the child have their own life in order to avoid human trafficking?
Your question was that if to set standards in the way they're living.
If parents did that in their homes, would that avoid human trafficking? And contrary to homes where the parents allow their kids to have their own life and make mistakes and stuff.
Absolutely. Having not a very controlled environment because some teenagers will go against everything that a parent say, right? So just have more of an open relationship, open trust with the child. So in that way, the child can be always willing to talk about who they meet, who are they going with, and what time they're coming back. Yes, it would definitely help prevent a little bit more, but the truth is that we are living in a very nasty world, and we have to be aware of our surroundings all the time, especially with internet. So, is that it?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for listening to my presentation.